Hey guys, so since we're at the start or even middle of what people call Oscar season, I thought it would be a good idea to give my thoughts on movies that I've seen that could be considered Oscar movies, or just movies to look forward to. As with a lot of my videos these days, the movies I put in this series will be for the most part more independent or even foreign films, so keep that in mind. I'm going to start with a film I was really looking forward to. Burning is a South Korean film directed by Chang Lee-dong and starring Ah Eun-yu and Steven Yeun. The film is based on a short story by acclaimed author Haruki Murakami, and although the main point of these videos is not to spoil the story, I will give a brief plot description for each. So, bare bones, a guy meets up with his old friend from childhood, and that eventually leads him to meeting her new friend, Ben. However, as the film progresses, you start to realize that there's something off about Ben, and that's all I'm going to tell you. One of the real thrills with this film is how the plot slowly yet steadily unravels. The film has a near-perfect pace, and you can tell that the director is not interested in speeding up or slowing down to benefit the audience. There's a level of figuring it out for yourself that the film has, and this led me to having several aha moments throughout the film. There's also something to be said about what the film doesn't show. There are countless unsettling and disturbing moments in the film that come about just by what the camera doesn't show or what little it does show. I have not seen anything by this director prior to Burning, but now I'm extremely interested about his filmography as a whole. Now, I can't talk about this film without talking about the cinematography. The use of color in this film is incredible, and you can tell there's deliberate control behind every frame and camera move. The film also has many beautiful long takes, especially a scene towards the middle that is probably one of my favorite scenes of any movie this year. The music is by Mowg, M-O-W-G, also adds an unsettling tone and suspense to this film. All in all, the film is thrilling, mysterious, and extremely rewarding, and the performances, especially Jong Seo-jeon in her film debut as Haemi, are extremely compelling and nuanced. That being said, there were some character choices and decisions that were made that didn't really make sense, and I felt that there were much better solutions to these decisions that could have made the film flow better. As a result of some of these choices, there was a bit towards the end of the film that dragged slightly. Not enough to completely ruin the movie, but it was still noticeable. All in all, this was an immensely enjoyable film, and I recommend you check it out. I gave Burning an 8 out of 10. Now on to the two films that will probably be in the race for Best Picture, starting out with the new Yorgos Lanthimos film, The Favourite, with a U, because British spelling is important. This film stars Olivia Colman in her first of two big Queen roles, the second one being Queen Elizabeth in Season 3 of The Crown. This film also stars Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone. Basically, it's set in England in the early 1700s in a kingdom ruled by eccentric Queen Anne, played by Olivia Colman. Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone play two cousins battling for the respect and friendship of Queen Anne. The whole movie devolves into a power struggle between the three of them, and it is one of the most entertaining movies of the whole year. Yorgos Lanthimos has molded himself into a sort of oddball in the film world with films like The Lobster and Dogtooth, but The Favourite is probably going to be the film he's most known for in the future. As a lot of reviews have pointed out, it's probably his most accessible film, which I feel is kind of a double-edged sword. I'm just going to say that The Favourite is probably going to end up as the funniest film of 2018. It's extremely sharp and witty, and a major focus of the humor is on the strange juxtaposition that arises between what we might consider 1700s practices and what actually happens on screen. This results in some of the funniest out-of-the-blue one-liners or situations that I've seen recently. The standout between the three women is probably Olivia Colman as Queen Anne. She brings a certain level of understated vulnerability to the character, while also being completely bonkers in the process. I feel like I chose three films that have some of the best cinematography of the year, and The Favourite may be the most inventive with its use of depth of field and angles. There are a lot of wide shots that use the fisheye lens, and when I first saw these shots in the trailer, I wasn't sure if they would work in context, but I can safely say they do. The whole presentation of the film as a whole just accentuates the time period in which it is set in a way that I have not seen many films do. The only other comparisons I can think of that might come close is either Barry Lyndon, The Grand Budapest Hotel, or Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That just goes to show the range this film has. The humor also doesn't in any way detract from the horrors and cruelty that people faced in that time, and I'm glad The Favourite doesn't shy away from showing this either. The music also fits the film's tone and presentation perfectly, and I won't spoil it, but the first song that plays over the credits took me by surprise so much that I felt like I was holding my breath prior to that. That being said, I feel like I say this quite a lot. There are some plot points and narrative beats that seem to quite literally come out of nowhere, and some sequences that felt like they went nowhere. Towards the end especially, I felt like there were some scenes and groups of scenes that could have been smoothed out and more in editing. Also, there were a few moments with Emma Stone's character that seemed a bit too forced and took me out of the flow that was happening prior to that moment. But these are minor complaints when talking about the film as a whole. This is a wildly entertaining experience with a few surprises along the way. I'm giving The Favourite an 8 out of 10. He can spread his wings and fly. The last film I'm talking about in this video is the film I'm guessing people are going to be most talking about come award season. That is the long-awaited new film from director Alfonso Cuarón titled Roma. And I'm just going to come out and say it, this film was fantastic. I would recommend going to this film completely blind. That's what I did and it worked for me. But if you want a brief synopsis, here you go. Basically, the story follows a nanny of a family in Mexico City in the 1970s over the course of around a year and deals with how she reacts and deals with the troubling political and social events happening around her. As I said before, and as I said about all these films, the cinematography is stunning, especially in this film where it becomes its almost own character in the story. Everything from the cinematography, the performances, the story, everything just fits perfectly. This is probably one of the only films this year whose long takes rival those of Burning. If I'm remembering it right, there's one shot that's simply just a 360-degree pan of a house, but so much information is conveyed in this one shot about the characters and their life that I can't think of a better way to film that same scene. Another aspect of the film I think was a really great idea was the use of black and white. Obviously, if you've seen any posters or trailers for this film, you'll know that it is in fact in black and white. And while to some that might seem like a pointless restriction, I personally think it added to the immersion of the world, as well as using the lack of color as a way to help tell the story better. There are a number of scenes in this film that doesn't even seem like scenes to me. They just felt like real life, and that's possibly the best compliment you can even give a film. The acting is also fantastic, and from what I can tell, this was the first film for a lot of these actors. And that also speaks to just how unique and great Alfonso Cuarón is as director. Going from Gravity to this just shows his range as a director as well. It's really sad that this film is going to be released on Netflix, just because I think that a film like this deserves to be seen on a huge screen. This movie has a strangely wonderful way of immersing you in the world of the characters, and I feel like it's going to be very hard for it to do that on a small computer screen or TV. So when Roma comes out, I highly recommend trying to see it in a movie theater just so you can get the best viewing experience possible. I did feel though, like Burning, that a couple scenes towards the end of the second act could have been trimmed down just a tiny bit. There were some messages and symbolism moments that I felt were hammered a bit too hard, and I wished Cuarón had been a little more subtle with conveying these messages. And cutting down a couple scenes I think would have achieved this. Overall, I'm giving this film a 9 out of 10, and I can't wait to see it again. My broken heart.